Fact or myth? Are lectins good for us or bad for us? That's the question, and we are going to answer it today. So get ready. My goodness. All right. So the first question that I have is, what are lectins? Because uh, you may have heard of them, you may not have kind of heard about them, but lectins are actually a protein that's found on many plant foods, including some legumes, grains, and some vegetables. And what they do is they play a role in the defense mechanism of the plant. So to keep them safe, from other maybe bugs and other things. So um, what we're going to talk about them. So the and they can be toxic. That's what we want to make sure they're not eaten by insects and other animals. So they can be toxic to those pests to deter them from eating the plants. And they also play a role in the germination of seeds and their growth by interacting with the soil bacteria. So they do have a function in the plants, but are they harmful for us? So there are a bunch of myths around the lectins. And so I'm just going to go through some of what those are for you. Number one, are all lectins toxic and harmful? I have heard people saying that we should stay away from any foods that have lectins because they'll cause leaky gut syndrome. And so they can be harmful if they're consumed in large amounts or if they're consumed in a raw form. And but many of the foods that contain lectins are actually safe and nutritious when properly prepared. There's another myth that lectins cause digestive issues in everyone, and they can cause digestive comfort or discomfort in people who are sensitive to it, but not everyone will experience those issues. As a matter of fact, in my one of the groups of foods that are have these lectins is the nightshades. And one of the nightshades, a couple of the nightshades, we eat regularly at our house, and we have no issue with them. That would be tomatoes and peppers, like green peppers, red peppers, yellow peppers, the sweet peppers. We eat them often raw. I mean, we wash them, but we do eat them raw. And our family, we don't have any issue with the lectins. Another myth is that lectins will lead to chronic disease, and there is no scientific evidence that lectins are directly linked to chronic disease. And as a matter of fact, many of our lectin containing foods are actually associated with health benefits and reduce the chronic disease due to their high nutrition and fiber content. I have heard this one. You should avoid all lectin containing foods, and if if you were to do that, you would be eliminating a number of nutritious foods from your diet. Things like here's kind of the list: beans, lentils, whole grains, and certain vegetables, which we've been talking about as part of good gut health. And so by eliminating those foods because they have lectins in them, you may be missing out on those health benefits. And there is really no scientific evidence to say that we should avoid all lectins. Lectins cause inflammation is another myth that you might hear out there. And there is very little scientific evidence to support this claim. And some people, most people can consume lectin food containing foods, without experiencing any inflammatory effects. And the key with the lectins is actually proper preparation of them. And lectins can absorb or will interfere with absorption of nutrients. And lectins actually do bind to certain nutrients and they do reduce their absorption. But the effects are minimal if you properly prepare the foods. So, overall, the nutritional benefits that you get from foods containing lectin far outweigh the potential negative effect on the nutrient absorption. And the last one that I'm going to say, oh, I got two more. Uh, Lectin containing foods are bad for your gut. And I have heard that this is where you get this leaky gut syndrome. But again, many of these lectin containing foods are good for us and they do provide good health for our microbiome. The last one is that you need to follow a lectin free diet for optimal health. And that is, I mean, we've already kind of approached that or talked about that. So there is no need to follow a lectin free diet. A balanced diet, one that contains a variety of plant based foods properly prepared, is a good recipe for health. So I wanted to talk about what foods actually what foods have lectins in them. I think that would be a good place to start. And so I put a little chart together to show us. So the foods that have kind of the foods that you'll see with lectins are your legumes. So this is your beans, which include kidney beans, black beans, soybeans, your lentils, peas, and peanuts as well, because peanuts are not a nut; they're actually a legume. And so, to properly prepare these, you should be soaking them first and boiling them thoroughly. For soybeans that are going into tempeh, which typically is prepared commercially, but you can make your own, you're going to want to look at fermenting the soybeans as well, and that will help with the lectins. For grains, we've got wheat, barley, rice, oats, and quinoa. And so these should be soaked prior to cooking to reduce the lectin content. Vegetables, the nightshade family, which includes tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, there's potatoes as well. These vegetables should be cooked, which could be boiled, steamed, or roasted to reduce the lectin levels. And to be honest, we eat the peppers and tomatoes without cooking them. We just wash them. So we do eat them raw. And for us, we don't have any issues with it. Fruits, bananas, apples, and oranges also have lectins. So the thought is to consume in moderation and observe individual tolerances. I would say that's probably the same for the peppers and the tomatoes. And it's not like we're eating a ton of them. And then there's the question of what is moderation, and we'll talk about that as well. So then nuts and seeds, almonds and sunflower seeds are examples, and we should soak them and roast the nuts and the seeds to reduce the lectin content. Now, we do promote soaking our nuts and seeds because of the enzyme inhibitors. So it's the same thing. So they have the lectins as well. And these are, again, we should be soaking them before we are using them and soaking and drying them. So we have talked about that before. And what are the nightshades? So what is the nightshade? Nightshades are a group of plants that have, it's a family of plants that they belong to the Solanaceae family. and it includes a variety of vegetables and fruits, and they're known for containing alkaloids, which are naturally occurring compounds. And these well-known nightshades include tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, and peppers. And other less common nightshades include tomatillas, goji berries, and ground cherries. And the way you can tell a nightshade is by well, they say the way you can tell a nightshade is by the way that the leaves come over the stem. You'll see that, like in an eggplant, you'll see that, and tomatoes as well, the way that they come across. But at any rate, they have some great benefits to them, and lots of nutrients. They're definitely not something that we need to avoid for sure, but we should just be making sure that we're preparing them properly, that we're listening to our body if we are having any insensitivities. And then if you are having specific health concerns, you should contact your uh, doctor, or if you're concerned about it, your medical practitioner. So let's look at a pros and cons of lectins and using lectins. So the pros of lectins is they are found in nutrient dense foods. They are, we've talked about what foods have lectins in them, and there's a lot of essential nutrients and overall health benefits from eating these foods. Typically, they are high in fiber, protein, also vegetables and minerals, so they're contributing to our uh, a balanced diet. Lectins can actually be prebiotics from the fiber, and they actually will feed that beneficial gut bacteria and support our healthy microbiome. And they also are associated with reduced risk of chronic disease, as such as heart disease and diabetes. The fiber and the nutrients that are in them are helping to for heart health, and also to slow down the release of the sugars into our bloodstream. On the other side of the fence, on the con side, they can cause digestive discomfort. So if you're consuming a large amount of lectins, or you are improperly cooking them, or they're not cooked properly, then you could have digestive discomfort, such as gas and bloating. The lectins can interfere with our absorption of certain nutrients when consumed in excess, again. And if you are eating high amounts of these foods, the lectins can be toxic if they're not properly prepared. And so, proper cooking methods like the soaking and the boiling will reduce the lectin content significantly. And then there's always the chance that you have individuals who have a higher sensitivity to the lectins than most people. And so, if you are experiencing that, then you probably should be taking note and maybe reducing your consumption of lectins. And before we conclude, I want to talk about moderation. What is moderation? Because we had that question came up yesterday when we were talking about the soy and how much soy can you eat. When it comes to moderation for our lectins, really, if we're eating a variety of foods in your diet and a broad spectrum, and not relying solely on foods that are lectin rich, you should be okay. So, as an example, for beans and legumes, aiming for half to 1 cup of cooked beans or legumes in a day is a good idea. Uh, Benji's come to say hello. Sorry. And for whole grains, 1 to 2 servings, which is typically around half a cup, is fine in a day. And for vegetables, 2 to 3 cups a day is usually what we would consider moderation or a good amount of those. And the same thing kind of goes for the soy that we were talking about is, eating it in moderation. And so it's similar. It's kind of, a couple of cups of soy milk, or you could have half to 1 cup of edamame or tofu in a day. So that's roughly what we're looking at in moderation. And if you're eating a well balanced diet, you should find that you're eating only you're not eating these foods in excess. I hope that helps in terms of what moderation means. Are there any questions on our gut health topics of lectins or what moderation is?
I just have a quick
Yeah.
question.
Yes,
Okay, go ahead,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Well, I was going to say nightshade. It's such an interesting terminology. Do you have any idea why they call it that? Because it sounds kind of poisonous, doesn't it? I mean, nightshade.
Yeah,
It sounds like it is deadly.
yeah, it does. I have no idea where that originated from. I have no idea. But it does. It kind of has this ominous, it's like an ominous ring to it, right?
Yeah, it's like a shield agent. You know, from the movies, it's like Agent Shield. It's like Agent Nightshade.
Agent Nightshade. That's cool. Yeah, right. That is funny. I have no idea though. It's interesting. I could see about looking that up. Yeah.
Okay.
OJ.
Yeah, I have a question. Can we go to the first slide? Okay, yeah. So I want to know, sometimes when you're having a parfait, we kind of mix nuts with bananas. Is it okay? Now you said that bananas have lectins, peanut have lectins. Is it okay that we mix them together? When you're having your parfait granola that has nuts and all that. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine. You should be
Okay.
okay with that. If you're making your own granola, you probably
Yeah.
want to soak your peanuts. If you're putting peanuts in, you probably want to
Okay.
soak them before you use them. But this is again, really it comes down to, and that's what it comes down to for all of these foods that have been noted as being not gut friendly, or put that's they have that misnomer, is to individual situations, and you have to look at it for yourself. So if you're able to eat your bananas and other, like, maybe you have oranges or apples with your granola and your parfait as well, if you're able to eat them and have peanuts with it, and you're not having any issues with your gut, like bloating or gas, then you're okay. If you have some digestive issues that come up, then you might want to try and figure out which food is causing the problems and whether it is the lectins or not that's causing the problems. And I think when you're doing a parfait, you're not like putting a ton of peanuts on it. That's more for a little bit of crunch and flavoring, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, we talked about lectins today. We have a ton of myths about lectins and their gut health, and whether or not we should eat them or not. And the conclusion is that as long as you don't have an individual intolerance and you are cooking them properly, then we are, or consuming them in moderation, because some of them we're going to eat raw, then you should be good to go. But always watch yourself for any specific intolerances that you may have. Other than that, eat not all the lectins you want, but you can eat all the variety of lectins in moderation. So we will be back tomorrow, and if you like this, share it with someone, and give us a like on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. See you tomorrow.